that an example, and what form of aggression is that an example of? Yes, what's a maroon? Write that on the board. Yeah. We all need to know what a maroon is.
Maroon.
Ancestors.
In the United States.
They were in the United States, they were throughout the Americas.
But in the, well, I know that I just want to assume, but
Yeah.
aren't there like sort of communities set up by runaway slaves or slaves that were able to break away and set up communities where they could live outside of the white man's jurisdiction?
Nice, nice. Others, please describe for me the behavior and the attitudes of the Maroon. They did do that. They created communities, they were runaway slaves. They were distinguished by more than that. Ms. Justice, do I see? Okay.
Well, they were considered as outlaw communities.
Absolutely,
And,
we definitely know that. This is not just this is an outlaw community. But why are they being described that way?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
They're highly against whites.
Highly against whites. No doubt they were. Yes, brother. What's Maroon? What were they doing?
They were.
No, Mr. Brown.
Oh, goodness.
Mr. Brown. I'm sorry. What's your name? Greg. Okay.
Cool. The slaves that escaped to become free slaves, it was like a colony. They had their own colony.
Yeah, they did.
They were all free slaves. So like once they get past a certain point, they became free slaves. That kind of.
They definitely were runaway slaves. They're all about their freedom, liberation. But there is a defining characteristic about this runaway slave that is clearly very different than the other runaways. Mr. Brown.
It says the Maroon soldiers they combined and captured muskets and they defeated heavily armed, well-trained European troops.
Okay, what does that mean?
That means that they were the most structured part of like a resistance against their oppression.
Okay, that's the question. That's essentially the answer I'm looking for. These were very, very, very active black men in the street at that time, if you will. They definitely were an example of outward aggression. It definitely was about resistance. You know, I don't know if it's true or not. Ride or die, supposedly, you know, was their motto and comes from them. I don't know. I've read that before, but that may be more, you know, folk tale than anything. But in any event, these guys and women, right, organized themselves to fight and or defeat and or kill their former white slaveholders. These were not runaway slaves who just simply ran away to Ohio or Canada or to the West, as we're supposed to be reading. That was a different kind of runaway slave. These slaves, they ran to the swamps, they ran wherever, they ran nearby, they ran to the mountains. They organized themselves to come back and kill. And then that was their lifestyle. They were not running. Matter of fact, they accepted death first. And where they lived and how they lived was actually very difficult. They were going to live in the swamps with the swamp rats. They were going to live in the mountains. They were living in the dirt. You know, it was true like Vietnamese ideology in terms of war. Or if anybody knows about the Eritrean War in East Africa, that's how they lived for 30 and 40 years, those Eritreans, you know, fighting against Ethiopia and Italy. They lived in the ground, and that's why they won. That's the Maroons. That's where it comes from, that energy. And that's why it was hard to defeat them or rout them out. Simple pleasures of life were oftentimes what they gave up. Ms. Yasser, do you have a question? Or?
No.
Okay, cool. All right, I just want to ask a couple of questions really fast in regards to this reading. So please take out the reading. I just want to ask some questions. Let's see where we're at. Keep in mind, what is a Maroon? In general, former runaway slaves who dedicated their lives to fighting the slaveholders. Typically, these men and women, right? Oftentimes, Maroons are regarded as black male communities. That's not true. They lived in very isolated and hard-to-reach areas, such as the wilderness, the swamps, and the mountains. That's where they lived. From the readings, although the dominant impression of a Maroon community, and or just a Maroon, is the black male, particularly from U.S., and that probably was the dominant Maroon. We gotta challenge ourselves in our conceptualizations of Maroon. Although that's a dominant face, if you will, What other communities and or other racial groups is Katz arguing that also made up these Maroon communities? Yep. Who else? Who else? Enslaved Africans, and the indigenous. Who else? Just read just. I'm sorry. No.
Like Brazilians and other Hispanic nations.
No. What other community? What other community? What did you say? I'm sorry. You said Brazilian. How do you say resiliency? Oh, definitely. Poor whites were isolated outside of the economic structure of the United States or outside of the benefit of white supremacy. They oftentimes worked with and behind the scenes of larger or more traditional middle America. So poor whites, the indigenous and enslaved Africans made up Maroon communities in the U.S. Let's read, Yasser. I need to ask you this. Well, from the reading, where does the word maroon have its origins? And what does the word maroon literally mean? All right, go for it.
Is it?
I'm sorry, what's your name?
Carlisha.
Carlisha, okay.
Is its origin Spanish? Word for runaway?
Spanish is a language, and it's the right language, but from where though? What's going on in South America? What country is operating there for them to create this word, or use this word in this way? Spain, over there, it's not even that hard, but Spain. Spanish word, absolutely. What does it mean? What does maroon mean?
Runaway.
It literally means runaway. Spanish word literally means runaway. Spain was all in South America, which is why they speak Spanish. Keep in mind, Spain, for those of you who may not know, I'm pretty sure all of you do, Spain is a European country, is a white country. It's a very white country, in fact. It is not Latin in the way that we understand Latin people in North and South America. In South America, what happened was, particularly with the process of slavery, this European country, like England, like Portugal, right, like other white European countries who were involved in the slave trade, were beginning to come over and enslave South America, in particular Spanish, which is why they acquired the language. But South Americans, generally speaking, consist of a lineage or a heritage that's connected to the Spaniards, also the indigenous, or what we may call Native Americans, but now in the South American context, and guess who else? Africans. So the current day Latino, particularly in South America, and I would argue throughout Central and North America, are really comprised of those three groups: African, European, and a lineage, and an indigenous lineage. So that's why in places like Brazil or Cuba or Dominican Republic, huge, serious African influences in those cultures. Go to a place like Peru, where the Black Panthers heralded, and that's where Tupac gets his name from. This is a South American space, but with heavy African roots, because we were there. That's why. Okay, cool. Staying with the South American thing, what were two cities in Brazil in which women led? One more time, in which women led Maroon communities. So they were also led by women as well. What were the two cities in Brazil? Yep.
I'm just going to take a stab at this.
Okay, go for it.
The Amazons?
Amazonia, definitely. Nice. All right. Who else? Two cities. Huh? This begins with a P. There we go. You probably pronounced it better than I could. But Pasana, Pasana, I believe. I could be wrong.
P-A-S.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. It's been your reading,
A-N-A-C.
Okay, hold on.